Welcome to Up to the Minute. It's a Thursday. Good to have you with us. I'm Todd Duplantis, and we've got your HCC news and information and some special guests for the next half hour. We're doing things a little different now. We'll actually just flash back to a couple of years ago. We used to broadcast live from HCCTV every day. Of course, we went remote for some time. Now we're trying to mix things up. We've got Dr. Tony Reyes-Sutherland joining me live from the HCC TV podcast studio. Good to see you, Tony.
Good to see you. And it's wonderful to be in this studio again. A studio instead of my house. I love it. You won't have my dogs barking in the back, though.
I know. Oh, so you didn't bring them with you. Okay, good.
I'm sorry.
I'm sure they're a little upset over that. So
they are.
In honor of them, I'm sure my dogs will bark just to give them a shout out for the show.
There you go.
Hey, speaking of our studios, we are back on HCC TV with this show. You can always catch us live every morning at 10 a.m. on Facebook Live and YouTube, but you can catch the rebroadcast of the show on HCC TV at noon, 5 and 10 p.m. Every day the HCC is in session, Mondays through Fridays. Okay, some special guests on the show. Tony, though, before we get to that, tell them where they can find us on social media.
Well, you can go to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, but you got to look for Houston Community College District, not just HCC, because there's a whole lot of those out there, but go to Houston Community College District and you'll find us.
All right, Tony, you're going to be talking with this next guest. She is from the Folger Shakespeare Library. Emma Poltrack, the Public Programs Administrative Assistant, is joining us this morning. Emma, good to see you.
Morning, Todd. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We're looking forward to hearing all about the things you have going on at the Folger Shakespeare Library. Stick around. We'll be with you in about 10 minutes, okay?
See you then.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to kick things off. You know him, you love him. I don't know if he's been on this show before. David, good morning. Good to see you. Have you been on Up to the Minute before?
Not within my memory, no.
Wow, how did that happen? Usually you're everywhere. Maybe it's because I see you just about every day when I'm at the district offices, but good to have you with us on the show. First off, before we get to the subject matter, want to congratulate you because you're back on the Faculty Senate again.
Indeed, I will be serving as president next year after Dr. Antrice Baget is done with her term.
Okay. All right. So congratulations on that. We look forward to working with you on there as well. We've got some things to talk about. We want to speak today about the Shared Governance Workgroup. Now, this is a project. I know, I believe it had a lot to do with Dr. Kurt Ewen, but tell us about the project itself and what it means to the faculty.
Well, this has come out of several conversations that have been had, and not just with faculty. And that goes to something that I wanted to bring out at some point during our little time here today. When we talk about shared governance, this is not just about faculty wanting voices. It's also about the other members of our HCC community. And I think the question asked, well, what is HCC community? Well, it's a lot of people. It's not just faculty. It's the administration. It's the staff. And too many times, we think about staff as being invisible, and that's not an optimal situation. So, we're working on see. It also includes the community at large, and especially our students. And as time goes on, this may expand a little more, but right now we're focusing on those first three groups.
And what exactly does shared governance mean? Does this mean your voice is going to be heard more than it has in the past? What new is coming out of this?
Well, one thing that we've been discussing a lot is, what do you mean when you say shared governance? And we have spent a lot of time and energy trying to work that out, because if you ask 6 different people for their interpretation of shared governance, you're going to get 8 different interpretations. One of the things that came out, and this is just a very short little catch-all, is input in proportion to influence, because some decisions affect everyone. And, in that case, everyone should at least know what's going on. That's just a very nutshell, oversimplified view. So when we talk about shared governance, it's making sure that everyone who is involved in terms of impact is at least somewhat involved, proportionate to influence, in terms of where, how does this affect me?
Okay. And if you're talking is this handled through representatives on this project? Everyone's going to have a voice through certain people. How are those people chosen?
That was an interesting debate that was had during the planning stages. We had a lot of discussions over who to include and who we should include at a later stage. And we decided that in the initial stages, we would be talking again about faculty, staff, and administration. And we essentially decided to say the people who want to work on this need to apply. So this is all voluntary. No one was voluntold. No one was appointed. Okay. People who were interested in genuinely working on improving things were asked to submit an application, and they did. And then we vetted the applications to make sure certain criteria were met. And then essentially, what if we had more applications than we had slots on this committee, which the work group itself is about 33 people. I always forget the exact number. And if we had more space, if we had more people than we had spaces, we want to be completely fair. We literally put names in a hat so that there would be no accusations of favoritism. Right. It was luck of the draw. And in that way, we tried to ensure a very inclusive net based on experience, time with the college, a whole range of factors so that this group, randomly drawn, would look like HCC. And that was a very important concern we had going into this.
And tell me what type of decisions this group will be involved in. I know the thing that comes to mind right now is, we're returning to classes on Monday, and I know we have a COVID response team that is comprised of a lot of administrators and other representatives across the district. Will the shared governance have a seat at that table? Will they be involved with decisions that are made on college operations, maybe decisions that are made about college culture? Will they be involved with those?
Not yet. I'm always good about the direct answers. The work group right now is mainly focused on doing research. And once we have done research, we can begin formulating proposals. The shared governance work group is not a governing body. We are a very high-powered body of people who will be making recommendations at some point.
I know this was a project that you're working on with Dr. Kurt Ewen. What type of role did he play in this? Because obviously there was a model. He's real good about finding models across the country, either with colleges or universities he's worked at. Tell us how he's played a role in this and what he's brought to the table for you guys.
Oh, his role has been absolutely critical so far. It was his initial idea that we should be pursuing this. And he approached me, and he also approached Daniel Dilla, the immediate past president of the Senate, to begin working on how we would go about doing this. Of course, Dr. Ewen is a former member of Valencia College, and Valencia College is well known not just for being an award-winning college, but also for being an example of shared governance. And to that end, we were all asked to view a video that Valencia College itself had produced explaining how shared governance at Valencia College worked. And one of our initial tasks as this work group was to look at the Valencia College model. I think I put a link in one of the slides I sent in. We were tasked with looking at that model and really thinking about what things work well at HCC and what things we could improve by adopting and adapting things that we saw going on at Valencia. And also to that end, we will be looking at other peer institutions. Valencia is the one that comes to mind because of Dr. Ewen's influence, but we're also going to be looking at other institutions around the country, primarily institutions that we would consider to be HCC peers, large urban colleges, multi-campus, single accreditation, and we've got a fairly robust list right now. We're about to be reaching out to those institutions to ask for their willingness to cooperate in doing the research, which initially, as many of you are aware, is taking the forms of surveys, but will probably include interviews at some point.
And how often will this committee meet that works on the shared governance project?
Right now, we're meeting pretty much every week, and we have work groups that are meeting in between those meetings. I'm actually leading the charge on the Research and Insights work group, and we have already divided into sub-work groups, and I don't want to say we're meeting around the clock, but we're definitely getting together more than once a week in terms of people getting together and get things done relating to this project.
Well, I know this is very exciting for a lot of our staff and our faculty, because a lot of them may feel that decisions are made by administrators who may not be listening. And I'm sure this is certainly going to open a lot of ears, when it comes to getting your voice out there.
That is one of our aims. When we ask about shared governance, of course, everyone always thinks about faculty. And of course, we always go back to the AAUP statement that was put out in 1940 regarding shared governance. But staff are absolutely critical to the functioning of this college. And we cannot, as much fun as it is to say, they don't listen. Administrators are necessary for the functioning of this college, and administrators have their own views and insights that are beneficial, and they have to be part of this process as well.
Sure. Well, kudos to Dr. Kurt Ewen. He's our Vice Chancellor of Strategy, Planning, and Institutional Effectiveness. And David, thanks for all of the work you do behind the scenes. And I know a lot of it's volunteer work outside of your normal duties and jobs and working with students. Congratulations on this and continued success.
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it.
All right. And we're going to get you back on the show again. So now that we've got you on the show, you've been on here once, you're welcome to be back on again. We look forward to talking to you soon.
Sure enough. Thanks, Todd.
All right, David. Thank you. All right. It is we used to call it Family Fun Thursday. Now it's virtual Family Fun Thursday. We're going to bring in a special guest from the Folger Shakespeare Library. And we've got Dr. Tony. It's going to take things over. Interested about this one, Tony? Tell us about it.
Oh, yes. Theater is my background. So Shakespeare Folger Library is something I'm very interested in. We have Emma Poltrack, who is the Public Programs Administrative Assistant. That's a lot for me to say. For the Folger Shakespeare Library in Washington, D.C. Welcome to the show, Emma.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, like I said, theater is my background, so this is a subject that's close to my heart. Now, I know there's a lot of things going on at the library, but one of the things is some renovations, isn't it?
It is. We are in the process of a multi-year renovation plan to expand our public spaces and to increase access for people to see more of our collections, have more programs. It's a really exciting process, and we're looking forward to coming back to the building sometime in 2023.
And of course, there's always lots of events. One of them is your virtual book club. Now, tell me about that. That I am very much interested in, because it means I don't have to go to Washington, D.C. I can do it in my home. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. That was really the reason we came up with the book club, is that we are used to doing a ton of programs where we get to see audiences and we get to interact with Shakespeare lovers and literature enthusiasts and people who love theater on a daily basis. And first with the renovations and then with the pandemic, we were separated from our audiences. We missed seeing people. We missed being able to connect to people. So in August 2020, we started this virtual book club that focuses on Shakespeare or early modern related fiction and gives people a chance to get into a room and talk to people with similar interests, but also shows all of the different ways that you can explore Shakespeare and his time and the performance history through these kind of contemporary adaptations. And we found that people really loved both the ability to connect with other people and to talk about these books, but also to connect with the Folger, because we have people joining from all across the country and even all across the world.
Oh, yes. I saw that. That is just wonderful. You get so many different opinions and ways to look at things with Shakespeare. And that's easy to do because he's pretty open-minded, especially at the time, and just looking at all the different things he talks about. Because I know that they do, like, you have music, poems, and then somebody plays music with it, all kinds of neat things. But not going off onto other subjects, tell us, what is the book of the month for February? Is coming up.
It's coming up. So next week we will be discussing The Weight of Ink by Rachel Kaddish. It's a really wonderful kind of intricate story that bounces back and forth between 1660s London and London in the year 2000. The story, the kind of more modern day story, focuses around a professor and a student who find a cache of old manuscript documents, and they start transcribing them and piecing together what story these documents tell. And then we go back in time to when those documents are being created by a young woman named Esther, who is a member of the Jewish community in London, scribing for a rabbi.
I think that's so wonderful. I love historical fiction because it's fiction, so you can get into people's lives and stories and be imaginative, but it's historical because the time is the same and the historic things that happen are the same. So it's fun to do that. And before we go any further, the first folio, can you tell me, that's what the whole library is based on, I think, right?
Yes. So that is a cornerstone of our collection. We have 82 first folios. When Shakespeare's plays were originally published, initially they were published in what were called quarto versions, which are kind of the equivalent of like a paperback novel. Not all of them survived. Not all of them got published this way. After his death, some friends of his started gathering all of his papers and published them in one collected mass of works called the First Folio. The folio, a reference to the page size in that book. And without that volume, we wouldn't have 18 of Shakespeare's plays today, including some favorites like Macbeth and Twelfth Night, which are two of my favorites. So the collection has, as I said, 82 of these first folios, which is the largest kind of single collection, as well as some second, third, and fourth folios.
I think it's wonderful. Well, if we were to join this book club and, like we're going to talk about, and I think it's called Words, right? Which I love. How does it go? When they participate, what would happen in one of these events? So
once you register, about a week, in fact, today, because it's a week from the book club, you'll get an email with links to resource guides and discussion questions. So you can kind of prepare, you can explore other paths, documents, blog posts, podcast episodes from the library that relate to the book subject material if you kind of want to explore more. Or you can just wait until the evening of, at which point you'll join us via Zoom. And then someone from the Folger will do a virtual presentation of collection items that are thematically linked to the book. I find this to be such a fun part of the experience because it takes you in such unexpected ways. It can be recipes, it can be a backgammon game, it can be illustrations from theater productions. There's just so many different ways that you can engage with the collection and then tie it into these novels that we're reading. After that presentation, then people get broken up into small breakout sessions. So they have a chance to really talk about the book with other people. And these sessions are led by Folger staff and members of the Junior League of Washington, which are one of our wonderful partners for this.
And just real quick, words. Where did that come from?
That is a quote from Hamlet. So
I had to bring that out.
Yes, of course.
I think that's just so great. Okay, and I understand that you've got a lot of partners for this project. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so some of our moderators are volunteers from the Junior League of Washington. We also have support from the Capitol Hill Community Foundation. But for every different session, we partner with a different independent bookstore in Washington, D.C., which has been a really great experience getting to know all of these wonderful bookstores. So for February's session, we're partnering with Capitol Hill Books. For March's session, we'll be with Bridge Street Books. We've done East City Bookshop and Solid State and Duende District and Mahogany Books. It's been wonderful because it kind of connects us to all of these businesses around us and gives us a real sense of community.
So we know what's happening for February, but what were some of the past titles that you guys talked about?
Oh, such a range. It's been a really wonderful reading experience. We started with Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, which is now the HBO show that I know a lot of people have been watching. We've done I, Tituba, Black Witch of Salem by Maurice Condé, Circe by Madeline Miller, A Bright Ray of Darkness by Ethan Hawke, the actor, which was kind of talked about his experience playing Hotspur in New York, but a fictionalized account. We've done Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell and Hag's Seed by Margaret Atwood. Really just a whole variety of things that draw not only on Shakespeare adaptations and performance, but also his source material, things that were happening in the time. As I said, just a really wonderful variety of ways to kind of connect back with his works.
Well, I know this is also a very good resource for teachers who teach Shakespeare. You have some workshops and things like that, lesson plans, I understand, things like that to help teachers, right?
We have a lot of resources that we connect people with for the book club specifically, and then a lot of resources kind of outside as well. So if you are coming to the book club, then you are pointed to, as I said, podcasts and blog posts and documents that you can use to kind of lead your own session or maybe bring back to your students. The Folger also has a wonderful education department that has a robust teaching platform that teachers can join and get lessons plans for Shakespeare's plays and a whole host of other ways to engage with his works, including more contemporary literature.
And like you said, there's people from all over the world who participate, right?
Yes, indeed. We've had people from 28 countries join us.
Wonderful. Well, Emma, we're so happy to have you on. I mean, me especially, because I love theater. And of course, I love Shakespeare. So thank you so much for being on. We got to get you back.
It's been wonderful to have you. And I hope to see you at a book club soon.
Absolutely. I will be there. Emma Poltrack, Public Programs Administrative Assistant for the Folger Shakespeare Library in Washington, D.C. And we're going to have information about that in our post after the show, so you can join the book club too.
All right. Thank you both for joining the show. Thank you, Emma. All right, Tony, we got a couple of announcements we want to go through. Of course, HCC's Entrepreneurial Initiatives Program is back. They're open for business. They've got a number of things, some initiatives in seeking help for minority women-owned businesses. They can offer you some assistance. They've got Women's Wednesdays, Business Digital Academy, and then the Business Model Canvas Workshop. They're all happening throughout this month. In fact, one of them is going through March, or two of them are going through March. So in order to check them out, we'll have some information in our social media posts where you can learn all about them. And MBDA is ramping back up again, Tony.
Yes, of course, it stands for Minority Business Development Association. And this time it's going to be in person. They've been waiting so they can get this in person. I mean, they've been doing it virtual, but they're so happy to get it in person now. And of course, it targets the minority business enterprises. It's going to be Wednesday. It's going to be on Wednesdays from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Manhattan Construction Office.
All right. Also, her funding is back. That's the Higher Education Emergency Relief Funding in the wake of COVID-19. The government's offering some special assistance to our students. You have to be registered. You can apply for this initial funding. You can use it for all types of things, from childcare to rent, anything that will help you get to class. You can use it to pay your rent, pay your food, buy your food with it, groceries. You can use the funding for this. You don't have to pay it back. Here's the catch. You have to ask for the funding. It's available to our students, the ones who are enrolled for the spring of 2022. It's emergency aid, and the deadline is tomorrow. You got to ask by tomorrow, Friday, January 28th, in order to get the next round of funding. We'll have some information in the link to our social media post after the show. There's also, Tony, an exhibition going on in Stafford.
Yes, Esther Delaquise Baidu. I believe I pronounced that right. She's an HCC faculty member, and it's at the Stafford Gallery this month. It'll be Monday, January 31st through April 9th at the Stafford Art Gallery, HCC Southwest. And we've got information about that in our post after the show.
Okay, save the date, put it on your calendar. Convocation is happening next month. The spring convocation was postponed because of COVID, but it is happening 2 sessions on Friday, February the 18th. The morning session starts at 10 a.m. The afternoon session starts at 2 p.m. You can attend it live or you can watch it live streamed. We'll have both options available for both the morning and afternoon central. It's happening this year. We'll be live at the HCC Central Auditorium at 1300 Holman. Make sure you join us there. Up to the Minute will not be on that day because many of us will be out at the convocation working that. So that'll be happening, but we'll have no Up to the Minute that date. Innovation of the Year nominations are taking place.
Yes, the 2021-22 Innovation of the Year Awards are now open. This award is a prestigious recognition for community college throughout the country. So it's important for HCC to be represented, especially given our leadership in innovation, like Dr. Ewen and so many others. So submit a nomination, either your own work or someone else, and be recognized. Now, the deadline for nominations is 5 p.m. Tuesday, February 22nd. So you have a little bit of time, but not a whole lot. So let's make sure that we get those nominations in.
Okay, finally, registration is underway. You can still register to attend classes and complete them by the end of the spring semester. Make sure you register now. There's funding available, financial aid, all those things are available, but you have to register now. hccs.edu/now is the registration address, web address. Okay, we'll continue our talks tomorrow with the presidents of our colleges. We've got Dr. Mudassir Siddiqui joining us. He's the president of HCC Central College, and it's Film Pride Day, Tony.
Yes, Houston Chronicle art and film critic Carrie Darling will be with us and going to talk about Oscar-worthy films. So that should be fun. And also some streaming choices. So it will be very interesting to see.
That's right. Join us tomorrow. It's Film Friday. It's also hashtag Finally Friday. Thank God for that, right? But either way, we will be back here live 10 a.m. for Up to the Minute.